Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video, 2 in a week. We're setting records here today, but this video is going to be some Lijiang Tower, and I picked this gameplay for some specific reasons. It's Season 17, currently, and the reason why I picked this gameplay is because we are running Reinhardt Zarya. This is going to be prevalent of a detail in the up-and-coming minutes of this match. But I thought it was interesting, this game, how it developed, and it made me think in general about the current balancing state, Season 17. Obviously, in Overwatch, as the balance patches come in and out, there's always metas that develop, there's always certain hero compositions that get favored amongst others, and you rarely stop and think why. Why is it that this thing is so much stronger than something else? And is that necessarily a problem? Is that a bad thing? But I want to talk specifically about Season 17 and about what heroes are currently strong, how I feel about them, and what things are okay, I guess. Like, that not everything's doom and gloom. One thing I will say about Season 17 is that we've had it a lot worse. Like, not even just as like an Ana player, but just Overwatch in general it's seen some darker days in its history, so I can't complain too much. But with that said, I think I want to get the elephant out of the room, or the fucking donkey that is Orisa right now. This character, you are bound to see that goddamn fucking donkey on like every single map. And it made me think about why. Why do we see this donkey so much? And I think for me, she's not just like an amazing shield tank. Like, you know when you've had those games in the past with, maybe you've just played with a really good Reinhardt or somebody who played a really good Reinhardt for one game, and you felt the impact, the amount of space that character created. For me, Orisa is kind of like a very dumbed down, simple version of Reinhardt. You can't really fuck up with Orisa too much. I know it's definitely possible. You can go around flanking, you can play a bit of flank Orisa, maybe get to mid GM, but in general, as long as you're placing your shields towards like the enemy direction, like, you're probably going to be helping your team in some way. And the amount of time that shield stays alive for it's like it lasts longer than I do in a team fight. That's for sure. It's just there. It never moves, and by the off chance it does disappear, you know for sure that shield's going to come back pretty bloody soon. And even when the Orisa dies, it remains there for a good, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. It just feels like it stays there forever. So the first thing I would say is that Orisa's shield, it's just there right now. Like, Orisa's been dead for a century, and look at that fucking massive bubble there. It's like half the size of a Winston bubble. It just doesn't die. Orisa's shield does not die. And when it does die, the deployment time required to place down a new one, it's like next to nothing. Like, I try to pick these timing windows to throw like anti-heals off into the enemy team when I think the shield's been down for a long period of time. It never works. It works like once in maybe, 30 times. You get that massive anti-heal when you compare that versus Reinhardt. Reinhardt, you can generally, like, what I really like about the Ana Reinhardt sort of matchup, and when it comes to anti-grenades specifically, is that you can kind of read what the Reinhardt's doing, like, because there is a brain behind the shield. But when it's an Orisa, there's just a shield on the floor, and I'm not dealing with a brain in that moment. I'm just dealing with this big chunk of fucking LCD screen that just never dies. And I don't have an opportunity to interact with a brain. And that's what I like in Overwatch. I like being able to outbrain somebody, or, at least read somebody's brain. I feel like when I'm playing against a computer or a bot, like, that's how Orisa's shield feels to play against. It's just there. Orisa puts it down, and then she goes and does a fucking crossword. I don't know what Orisa players do once their barrier's down. 9 seconds later, they press E on the floor once again, and then that shield's there. So the reason why I'm talking about Orisa a lot is because I think she is the strongest character right now in this game. In terms of like peak potential, obviously like a Widowmaker just clicking on heads is going to dominate a match. DPS currently in Season 17 in general, I think there are some irritating characters, you know, flanking Hanzo's, machine gunning you in the arse, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It doesn't make sense that sniper characters are double jumping in the air and machine gunning you from behind. That aside, like, I can deal with that. The thing I don't like about Orisa is that her kind of like passive, I don't know, non-interactive, like just her baseline level of game impact is so huge versus the amount of effort it requires. And in general, over the timeline of Overwatch, every time there has been an issue balance-wise, in my opinion, like in my estimation of what is imbalanced, it generally comes down to this. The amount of effort required, you know, versus the amount of reward that you receive for that effort. If that is unbalanced, that is how I decide if something is not balanced. And I feel like Orisa right now definitely falls into that category. And I haven't even touched on anything except for her shield. I think her shield alone is overpowered right now. I think it's too big. I think it lasts for too long. I think it has too much HP. And I think its deployment time is too low. I think Orisa, her shield just all across the board, needs a bit of a fucking slap. But, we haven't even started on the synergistic combo that is Roadhog with Orisa, the pulled pork, as people try to desperately deem that combination. I hate that fucking combination. Pulled pork, fuck off. Anyway, pulled fucking pork is an absolute disaster in ranked queue. It's this, what is it, like a 10-second cooldown for a very key game impact, like game influencing combination. It's not like a Nanoblade where you do it every, I don't know, if it's me playing Ana, every 3.5 minutes you get a fucking Nanoblade successfully executed. It's like every 10 seconds or every 12 seconds, whatever the cooldowns are. It's much less difficult to coordinate than a lot of game impact combinations. I can't really think of anything. Like, I don't know, I don't think there's anything else in this game that is on such a low cooldown. Something comes to mind, like maybe like a McCree flashbanging like her enemy Reinhardt into a shatter, like some sort of synergistic combo. I can't think of anything else in this game that is on such a low cooldown for the amount of power that it produces. It almost feels like an ultimate every, like, let's just say 15 seconds, alright? Let's just round it up, make it nice and smooth. And just pretend like, realistically, I think the cooldowns are much closer. I think they're both like 8 seconds-ish. It's like 8 or 10. But anyway, realistically, the opportunity to present the combination isn't going to be off cooldown. It's not like when Roadhog has Hook and Orisa has Halt, automatically there's an available target. That's not exactly the full picture. You need to be in a position to actually use the thing. But the point is, it's such a devastating combination on such a low cooldown, and the opportunity to do it is very, very frequent, and there's nothing else that compares. And when we consider how strong the shield is, we can consider why Reinhardt isn't played. When we add the addition to that shield being so dominant, as you can see, we've started switching into Orisa Hog ourselves after losing that first round, and the game got a hell of a lot fucking easier as soon as that switch came through. And I think the absolute power level of this hero combination of Orisa and Roadhog, I think it's like 70% Orisa, maybe 30% Roadhog, I'm not too sure. But I think that just the downright potential of Orisa, and then when you add insult to injury, that is Roadhog, the Hook-Halt combination, it's an absolute monster of thing to deal with. And it's no wonder that Reinhardt Zarya take the back seat this season specifically. And one thing in general with tanks that's kind of unfortunate is that, like, I was thinking about the fact that if you play certain tanks, like, tanks need to switch in pairs. There's no other class in this game that it's like our Tracer switches to Hanzo, therefore my Genji has to switch to something else. It's like, you don't necessarily need that double switch mechanic like you do with the tank class, which I feel is another disincentive to play tank, because you need to synergize with the secondary player and work with that person. Dude, tanks are just a mess. Dude, I feel sorry for literally any tank player. You know, it's just, I feel like it's just the most bum class you can play. But fuck, we need them. We need more tanks. We need good tank players. So I've got to give them credit where it's due. I couldn't do it, man. There are better people than me. But yeah, I think the important thing for this game was just after we switched to Orisa Hog, the difference felt night and day. And it really made me think about the absolute strength of these two characters. And I wanted to reflect on that a little bit for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.